Sometimes I don't want to statute.
Sure.
Rules in place to do all that. So I would check those first.
Okay.
Okay, we'll call the drainage board meeting to order. The first on the agenda is the Scott Fritz private ditch closure. What's?
Morning.
Morning.
I can do that. Is that better?
It's probably not turned on.
Now, I think, there it is. So we've had these ditches on my to-do list for a long time. So I just decided to put them all together and come before you, tell you what we're doing. First off, background, I would never close a ditch without also fixing the drainage or maintaining the current drainage. So that means closing a ditch and laying tile. So I've already talked to the Sabatines and doing the tile work. So in the maps that I gave you, which are in black and white, are a little different than Jenny's. And I've added, I think there's one or two ditches that I've added to my list that I maybe didn't give to Jenny. So I don't know how you want me to just go through these one at a time?
I think so.
So which, do you want to use my output or you want to use Jenny's output? Hers is in color, mine's black and white. So Jenny's aerial number 1, which is, I assume that's first page.
Section 36, is that right? At the top?
No, well, that's what how about we do mine? I did mine already and I don't have to. Okay, so mine, section 36, if you flip the page, is the next map. And we can find that map in Jenny's. If I look quickly, I can probably spot it.
The one we have handy is just the one that you have, so if you just want to stick with that.
Yeah, okay. This particular is the biggest project, and I've been working on this project for a long time. I at one time had it denied by IDEM because I didn't want to mitigate the ditch banks. They said to me I had to mitigate the ditch banks. If they say that to me again, I can just say, well, we've got solar going in and that's all grass. So I think I've more than mitigated the acreage on the ditch banks. But so I will take this one to IDEM to be sure that I'm doing it correctly. There's a T, what I would call a T ditch. There's an east-west component and there's a north-south component. The east-west component is on the north. It's already got tile laying immediately beside it. So it's just waiting to be pushed shut. The north-south ditch is a little bit bigger ditch. Both fields on either side of that ditch has a tile every 100 feet. So I've already pretty much bypassed the drainage work that ditch does. So that's section 36. Questions? Next one is section 26, which is the next page in my output. I have it circled. Also a little background comment. I've already talked to all my neighbors, and I've always assured them all that there'll be tile work done to replace the ditch. I remember when this ditch was dug, for what that's worth. It's been here for a while. Ditches in Jefferson Township, the old timers, they dug a ditch where it was wet. And in Jefferson Township, where it's wet is also where the ground's the best. So they had a decision to make, do we dig a ditch, because they couldn't afford, they either didn't have confidence in tile or they couldn't afford tile. So they dug a ditch. Well, today our tile is much better than it was back then. And so I have no problem of laying a properly sized tile to replace an open ditch. That's pretty much what we're doing in all of these examples. So I've talked to Padels, and they're okay with it, but I won't, I'll get their second opinion before we start moving dirt. The section 25, the third one down, the next page. This is an interesting one because the current ditch flows underneath. Jenny makes a comment about this too. So this takes extra approval, I think. The current ditch flows east and west, and it takes drainage off of Cottoners and Whiteys and ours, or Woodies, what we call Woodies. And all I'm proposing to doing is closing that ditch and then moving it south. So we still handle the same amount of water with open ditches, but we cut down the footage of open ditches considerably. And make that little triangle field a little bit more accessible for farm equipment. So what I anticipate asking the commissioners is, how do we deal with the culvert that it goes under 550? And then what do we do with the culvert when we dig the new ditch farther south and go back under 550 a second time? So in other words, close the north culvert and open up a new culvert to the south. See, the ditch on the east side of the road already exists, but it flows north. And so, which is counterintuitive to how water flows. And so that's an easy fix to just reverse that ditch and let the water flow south and then cross under the road and Jenny's, I just saw it. She's got a much better picture than what I do. Yeah, it's number 3. Her picture is labeled number 3 down here on the bottom, but it shows yeah, if I was Cottoners, I would like this a lot, but it cuts down the distance that their water has to flow before it actually it flows a lot farther to get to the same point as it will after the reconstruction. So with no questions, Jim Nichols, section 24, which is the next page. That wasn't originally in my proposal. I know that Jim's been wanting this ditch out. It's not much of a ditch anymore, and we farm Jim's. So I'm representing Jim, but I suppose that Jim probably should make the official ask at some point in time, but I don't know for sure. And then the section 13, which is up closer to Highway 14, that's a well-maintained ditch. It drains water off of cokers. Cokers have tile that comes into it, and we farm cokers as well. We farm Nichols as well. These are all farms that everything on here, we either own them or we rent them so we're farming them. And that would eliminate a small field to the south, plus the wasted ground of ditches, and open up that field to more efficiency. And then section 30, the last picture, same thing, just shorten the ditch. Eliminate a ditch, shorten a ditch, replace it with tile. Shepherds are on the other side of the road. They're in the process of, I talked to them, but they just haven't said for sure what they want to do, so.
So Scott, it's a lot of ditches, and granted they're private ditches, but the purpose in closing all these is for?
2 things. One thing, efficiency. If we continue to farm these ditches, they're more efficient to farm. Of course, they're 1 field instead of 2. If they go in the solar, it eliminates a tremendous waste of farm ground.
I'm sorry.
If they go into solar, it eliminates a tremendous waste of farm ground. Because the idea of setting a fence back 150 feet just pretty much destroyed the use of that 150 feet for farm ground. And so if we can eliminate a ditch, we eliminate a fence or two fences and all the ground in between it. So instead of, you know, on an 80-acre field, 150-foot setback all the way around the field, 80-acre field being a quarter mile by half a mile, you draw a 150-foot easement, a setback around the whole field, you've taken up about a fourth of the acres in the field. So in other words, you had to replace that fourth of an acre with other fields somewhere else. So technically, you made the solar farm 25% bigger than it really needs to be because of the setbacks.
Is this ground currently in solar?
I'm sorry.
Is this ground in a solar lease currently?
Some of it is, yes. Yeah, so I'm just trying to make efficiencies for me and for taking care of 150 feet of setback or 75 feet of setback in some cases, plus maintenance of ditches, and we can do it better with tile. So I'm kind of dismayed by, when I added up the numbers, I'm a little dismayed at the amount of ground that's just going to be in a 150-foot strip that doesn't fit farm equipment, doesn't fit much of anything.
Is all the neighbors congenial with this?
They're all good, but I won't move a yard of dirt until I'm 100% sure that they're okay with doing what we're going to do.
What's Jenny's feelings on it, Lynn?
Well, I think she has come up with a checklist of items that we would ask the landowners who are wishing to close up private ditches to adhere to. Part of it is goodwill, making sure that the drainage board is aware of what's being done out there so that we can operate with the knowledge and everything, and also to ensure that the adjoining landowners that could have an issue with it, that the drainage board is assured that they are on board with it. There's a checklist that the board is going to be considered for approval, in which there is a stipulation that the adjoining landowners that could be affected by that would be required to submit their approval in writing.
So the checklist she had emailed us at one time, so from my understanding, we just need to approve the checklist, and then, because we approved it, then the landowner that wishes to close a private or mutual drains, they would just have to go through the checklist. You mind reading this?
Oh.
Yeah, why don't you go through the checklist for the public?
If the ditch is exclusively on the requestee's property and not affecting anyone else, and it will not affect or negatively impact any of the adjoining landowners, then they may close in the ditch. If the ditch is shared among several landowners, more than one, then the requestee must speak with the affected landowners, which Scott has done. Those landowners must agree and a plan written to present to the drainage board. Their water must still be able to get through and travel to the outlet. Landowner permission must be in writing and presented to the board along with the plans. You should also make inquiries with your ASC or Army Corps to make sure that you do not need any permits to permit this type of work. You need to make sure that the area you are wanting to close is not in a floodplain or wetland. And you must install the adequate size tile so that it does not negatively impact others. If it happens to do so, then the requestee will be liable for any damage and be made to install a bigger tile. And if the adjoining landowners are not in agreement, then the ditch shall not be closed in. That's the proposed plan that the commissioners are considering to sign. Try to make sure that when we're approached with these things, that everybody,
It's consistent.
yeah, and that we don't let something drop through the cracks.
I always chuckle a little bit because water is always going to get to its outlet. It always runs downhill, sometimes a little quicker with drainage than without drainage, but it's all going downhill. It'll get there eventually.
So what we need is a motion to approve him going ahead and getting the checklist.
Just the checklist.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that.
I'll make a motion to approve the checklist for landowners wanting to close in private mutual drains.
I'll second the motion.
We got a motion and a second to approve the checklist for the Scott Fritz drainage project. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Well, and to be clear, that this would be for any lands going forward for any private.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ed Frain Tile update. Mr. White?
Good morning.
Morning.
Since our last meeting, we were able to get that line televised. I believe Jenny sent you all a copy of that report and the video as well. From what we saw, everything looked to be in pretty good condition. I was kind of surprised for the age of that line. Some cracks in the tile, but a lot of it superficial. No major blockages along the way. Handful of taps that go to some surface drains somewhere. So in the future, you may want to consider a couple point repairs to identify where those are at and allow those to function as they did previously. But the video gave us enough information to finalize our plans, so we are ready for bid, at which time I would ask that the board approve us to work with the surveyor department to advertise the project.
So what we would basically do is just make a approve for bids. It doesn't mean we need to accept them. Or-
Correct, just to allow us to advertise in the paper and set the project to bid, like you're saying.
Okay, we need a motion to approve for Ed Frain Tile to go out for bids.
I'll make a motion to approve you working with survey department to start the bidding process.
All right.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion and a second. Is everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We might get that done yet in my lifetime.
Oh, I hope so.
All right. It's been going on for quite a while. Approved claims.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims. Oh, Robert, we had them in our,
You emailed it to us.
yeah, I was gonna say. we can-
I was gonna say,
I'll second the motion to approve the claims.
we got a motion and a second to approve the claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You also emailed us the minutes. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for January 20th, 2026.
I'll second the motion.
We got a motion and a second to approve the minutes from January the 20th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Other business, sign the 26 spray contract with Perrin March Award on January 20th, 2026.
We approved it for,
Yes,
correct?
just need signatures.
So we don't really need to do anything.
I have something that's been through, I want to bring up,
Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
if you're done, since that will be business, I guess. I don't know. Actually, the email exchanges we had with the engineer about the proposed 75-foot easement along ditches. Did everybody get a copy of this picture that he sent? He sent this to me.
Did you?
He was talking about a berm, things like that.
I read that.
Okay. Yeah, he sent me a picture anyway. I guess there's some question about where you start the 75 foot and everything. I think you have to me, I don't know why you use the term berm or anything else. It's a ditch bank to me. And this is the picture he sent. I'll pass this down the line, but I think it can be something of an optical illusion because in one of his emails, he describes that the two sides of the ditch bank are unequal height. But I think it's just the way it looks, because you can see in the background, well, they're the same height on both sides, and it's just banked up. I don't think this is the big Monon, but this is a similar, but just slightly smaller dish, like the big Monon. And if you've ever seen those big dish banks, they're built up. And I've always figured they did that because flooding and to prevent that. So they built the ditch banks higher. It's not a dike or a levee or a berm. So solar and all this aside, which is the question on this, I think you have to go back. Why do we have a 75-foot easement? It's for maintenance and access for the county to get in there and do their thing. So you come to the top of this ditch bank, which is up here. Now, that's where to me, that's where the 75-foot would start and measure out. Why would we accept anything that was less than that and cut off our maintenance pathway to get in and clean the ditches? It just doesn't make sense, common or otherwise, that the county would think that there would be any argument that would be acceptable to shorten that distance up and make it down the ditch bank anywhere else. I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was going to be talked about today. I wasn't sure from the emails when that was going to be proposed, but I just wanted to get that on the table. That's my assessment, and there's no definition under Indiana law what the top of a ditch bank is. It's referred to several times and this and that, but it's basically, if we didn't have a mound, it would be where the ditch comes up and breaks the flat land. Well, you know, when you have an artificially built up bank and it goes up to the top, the highest point of elevation is what it's referred to sometimes in case law and statutes, and that would be obviously on top of this high ditch bank.
Well, 75 feet is in Indiana code, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
and it can be deviated from by the board, but 75 foot is that, so.
Now, you also made reference, did you, Tim, about, there is some language about Indiana code with rivers.
Well, that was when
But it
they
doesn't affect the ditches.
Right.
But-
No, that was when several years ago, I had some experience with rivers and natural water courses, and those boundary lines can change, and they're subject to the natural water course. I think who I was emailing with back.
Yes.
And that's where I thought that their argument was coming from.
So they haven't proposed any argument. This is just, I wanted us to get a line to make sure any argument they come back with, we are prepared and we have a clear path forward. And so what it appeared that some of the sediment that what we call a berm was created from them dredging and pulling back inside the ditch. And so over time, doing that many times, you've shifted where the edge of the bank is back. And so I just wanted to make sure from a legal standpoint that once we say this is the top edge of bank, we're good to say that that's the top edge of bank and that we're able to continue to move that back with maintenance activities.
I think based on what I said, that's my response to his inquiry. So,
Okay, then yeah, whatever Jenny says the top of the bank is, as long as we're comfortable.
And I think it always has to be looked at from the perspective of county maintenance, not solar setbacks and
Oh, yeah.
everything else. It's always has to first be looked at from the aspect of access to county maintenance and why that 75 foot is there. And that if it were to be, I think if you, in every ditch could be looked at a little differently, but there's so many of them that are the same. I suppose a few of them could be unique in how the banks are built or something. I don't know what would be any different than what these are, but I just can't imagine it would be that big of an issue to have to argue over that, just so they can gain extra access to put more, to move their fence. We have to have 75 feet, that's it, period. And 75 feet's not very much room to, bring a dump truck or a backhoe in to clean out your ditches anyway. So I just don't think, if you're not used to thinking in those terms in that realm, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense whether we have 69 or 75 feet. What's the big deal? But six or 8 feet can make a big deal when you're the one that has to watch if you're swinging into things, swinging your arm into things, or backing into things and things like that. So, absolutely.
Very good. Thank you.
Anything else, Tim?
That's all I had, thanks.
Any other public comment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
We got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say yay.
Yay.
You say yay or nay?
Yay.
He likes to make it confusing.
Doesn't it?